Now, let me start off with a question that most people never ask. Well, until it's too late. What would you do if no one was coming to help? Not because they didn't care, but because they weren't legally required to. Now, that's not an opinion. That's not fear mongering. That's not some fringe idea. That is the legal reality in the US. Many people live under the comforting illusion that if danger shows up at their doorstep, someone will come to save them. Just call 911 and help will arrive. But court case after court case, real lives, real tragedies prove otherwise. You have no constitutional right to police protection. And here's the hard truth. Many people in vulnerable communities already know this on a gut level. They've watched loved ones die waiting for help that never came. They've called 911 and been ignored. They've seen crime reports filed and forgotten. And yet, what they often don't know is that legally, they were never entitled to a response in the first place. They've lost faith in the system without realizing the system was never designed to guarantee their protection. That silence on the other end of the line, that slow response time, that shrug from the desk sergeant, that's not a failure of the law. It is the law. This is why it's not just a personal issue, it's a community issue. It's a reality check, because if the people who already feel abandoned by the system knew the truth, that there's no legal obligation for it to protect them, they might stop waiting and start preparing. I know that might shake the foundation of what you've believed your entire life, but before you turn this off or scroll past, I ask you to stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'm not just going to break down how we got here. I'm going to share some real practical steps that you can take to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it, but you can act on it. Now let's start with some cases that laid the foundation for this uncomfortable truth. In Warren v. District of Columbia back in 1981, two women called 911 after intruders broke into their home. They were told help was on the way, but no one came. The women were brutally raped and tortured for over 14 hours. Despite calling police 3 times, there was no response. When they sued, the court ruled the police had no special duty to protect them as individuals. In Dasheney v. Winnebago County in 1989, 4-year-old Joshua Dasheney was repeatedly abused by his father. Social workers had been warned multiple times and even saw the injuries firsthand, yet still returned him to his father. Eventually, the abuse left Joshua with permanent brain damage. The Supreme Court ruled the state had no constitutional obligation to protect him from harm. In Castle Rock v. Gonzales, 2005, Jessica Gonzalez had a restraining order against her husband. When he took their 3 daughters, she called the police multiple times and even told them where he was. They refused to act. Hours later, he arrived at the police station and was killed in a shootout. His 3 daughters were found dead in his car. The court ruled the police had no obligation to enforce the restraining order. And finally, we all watched the horror unfold in Uvalde, Texas, where law enforcement officers waited for over an hour outside a classroom while a shooter murdered innocent children inside. Despite public outrage, the legal precedent remains. They had no duty to intervene. These aren't just isolated incidents or flukes. They form a legal framework that clearly says you are not entitled to police protection. And yet, in response to rising crime and violence, we're told to pass more laws, but only the kind that restricts the law-abiding. We're told not to trust ourselves with tools of protection, but to trust officers who we've never met and systems that have already told us, you're on your own. Now, let me be clear. This is not an attack on police. This is not anti-law enforcement. This is pro-reality. And the reality is you are your own first responder. I'm not here to blame the overworked, under-resourced, and often poorly trained officers who are being asked to do too much with too little. Most of them are doing the best they can within a broken system. But acknowledging that the system can't and often won't protect you isn't an insult to them. It's a wake-up call for us. Now, I don't carry out of fear. I don't train because I'm paranoid. I do it because I love my family. I do it because I care about my community. I do it because I refuse to wait for someone else to step in when seconds count and help might be minutes or hours away, if at all. I speak so often and so passionately about this because I've seen what happens when people finally realize the truth after it's too late. I've watched people believe the myths that if you just cooperate during a robbery, you'll be fine. That attackers will behave rationally, that violence follows a script. But violence is inherently unpredictable. It's chaotic, it's often instant. And the idea that it happens to other people is the most dangerous belief of all. So, what do? We get honest. Then we get prepared. Here are a few steps anyone can take right now. Number 1, become situationally aware. Pay attention. Look up from your phone. Know your exits. Read the energy of the room. Most people walk around in a fog, unaware of who's behind them, who's watching, or what might be developing around them. Awareness is your first line of defense. Number 2, educate yourself on how violence really happens. Forget the movies. Real life attacks are fast, brutal, and often senseless. Understand criminal behavior. Learn how predators choose victims. This knowledge alone could save your life. Learn about firearms responsibly. Owning a gun isn't the answer for everyone, but understanding how they work, how to handle them safely, and when their use is justified is critical. Whether you choose to carry or not, take a class, ask questions, train. Number 4, know the law. Self-defense isn't just about skill. It's about knowing your rights. Know your state's laws on use of force, on firearm transport, on what happens after an incident. What you don't know can hurt you. And number 5, have a plan. At home, at work, at school, run scenarios. What would you do if something happened right now? Where would your kids go? How would you communicate? Don't wait until the worst day of your life to figure it out. We can't legislate evil out of existence. We can't rely on underfunded, overworked systems to save us. But we can become the kind of people who refuse to be helpless, not because we're scared, but because we're ready, because we care, because we want to live and help others live too. The courts have spoken. The tragedies are real. Now the rest is up to us. Thank you.